officers busted on suspicion of corruption. 3-ply face masks to cost only ₱1 soon. Hello and good evening. Thanks for joining us. You're watching News at 10 with me, Muhammad Amin Carlos. Well, the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission, MACC, has arrested 3 Shah Alam City Council or MBSA officers for suspected graft involving a protection racket for unlicensed businesses in the Sungai Buloh district. While the 3, aged 41 to 49, were detained for allegedly soliciting and accepting monthly bribes from unlicensed business owners. Now, the MACC Deputy Commissioner for Operations, Dato Sri Ahmad Kusari Yahya, when contacted, confirmed the arrest, adding that the case is being investigated under Section 17, Subsection A of the MACC Act 2009. Well, the MACC also arrested another suspect from the Aceh in the operation conducted this morning. The suspect, who was a petty trader allegedly to be involved in the selling of illicit cigarettes, is also suspected to have given out monthly bribes of around ringgit to avoid the authorities since 2019. Well, previously, a video clip went viral on social media alleging that some members of the authorities had failed to monitor and enforce the law, as well as being accused of soliciting and accepting bribes from unlicensed business premises selling contraband goods, including cigarettes, around Sungai Buloh. Well, meanwhile, the police has called on any parties with information on illegal gambling activities to come forward to facilitate police investigations instead of viraling the information on social media. Kuala Lumpur Police Chief Dato Sri Mazlan Lazim said his contingent has already formed a task force to eradicate gambling dens throughout the city. Dato Sri Mazlan Lazim also stressed that the Kuala Lumpur police contingent is monitoring several locations suspected to be illegal gambling hotspots in the city.
Kita menumpu kepada 5 daerah. Jadi Putrajaya kita tak tumpu sebab Putrajaya kurang ada aktiviti tersebut. Yang kita tumpu di kawasan daerah Ceras, Sentul, Dawangi, Brickfield dan juga Wangsa Maju. 5 daerah yang kita tumpukan. Jadi dalam penumpuan ini kita fokus kepada perjudian online dan kita akan ambil tindakan habis-habisan. Tindakan bersepadu di antara polis dengan masyarakat itu penting untuk pastikan bahawa tindakan terhadap mereka yang menganjur perjudian haram dapat diambil tindakan.
Dato Sri Mazlan also discouraged members of the public from disclosing information of criminal activities on social media, as they would be exposing themselves to some forms of danger. Instead, he urged them to directly contact the Kuala Lumpur Criminal Investigation Department. Well, former Pulau Pinang Chief Minister Lim Guan Eng was again charged at the Sessions Court in Butterworth today with abusing his power to obtain ringgit 372,009 for his wife Betty Chew Gek Cheng. Lim, 60, who is also former Finance Minister and current DAP Secretary General, nodded his head in understanding when the charge was read to him by the court interpreter before Judge Ahmad Azhari Abdul Hamid. Lim, however, pleaded not guilty to the charge. Well, Lim's wife, Betty Chew Gek Cheng, and businesswoman Pang Lee Kun were also charged today with corruption and money laundering. Well, she pleaded not guilty to the 3 charges under the Anti-Money Laundering, Anti-Terrorism Financing and Proceeds of Unlawful Activities, or AMLA, Act, while Pang also claimed trial to abetting Lim in committing the offence. Well, bail was set at 50,000 ringgit each. The charges are not related to the previous cases involving the Pulau Pinang Undersea Tunnel project or the sale of the former Chief Minister's bungalow on Jalan Pinhorn. On Monday, Lim claimed trial to a charge of using his position as the then Chief Minister of Pulau Pinang to obtain 3.3 million ringgit monetary gratification in the 6.3 billion ringgit Pulau Pinang Undersea Tunnel project. Well, a man was charged at the Sepang Magistrates Court with killing his wife at a location near Cyberjaya Lake 2 weeks ago. Now, the charge against the accused, Muhammad Hairil Izwan Abdul Samad, 41, was read before Magistrate Ayuni Zati Sulaiman under Section 302 of the Penal Code. Muhammad Hairil Izwan, clad in an all-black outfit, broke down in tears when the charge was read to him by the court interpreter. He then nodded in acknowledgement of the charge, but no plea was recorded. He was charged with murdering Associate Professor Dr. Maizatul Nisa Othman between 11 a.m. on 29 July and 1 a.m. on 30th July, the Cyber Valley Park Lake, Jalan Persiaran Sepang in Cyberjaya, Selangor. Before a date for case mention was fixed, the accused, who was unrepresented, asked the court interpreter for time to hire a lawyer, upon which the court was told that his family would be informed of his need for a legal representative. Deputy Public Prosecutor Nurul Farahin said the family of the accused has been informed of the charge, but no one attended the proceeding. Magistrate Ayuni Izzati then set 14 September as the new case mention date without fixing bail and pending the complete post-mortem report. Well, the Home Ministry will retain the Liberation Tigers of Tamalelam, or LTTE, in its list of terror groups. Deputy Minister Dato Sri Dr. Ismail Muhammad Said said the decision is made following surveillance and investigation made by the authorities, including the Royal Malaysian Police.
Mengikut maklumat yang kita terima pada tahun 2014, KDN telah menyelaraikan LTTE ini sebagai identiti yang ditentukan di bawah Seksyen 66B dalam kurungan 1 di bawah Akta Pencegahan Pengubahan Wang Haram, Pencegahan Pembiayaan Keganasan dan Hasil Aktiviti Haram 2001. Kenapa kita letakkan atau senaraikan LTTE ini sebagai identiti ditentukan kerana di bawah Seksyen 66B menyatakan bahawa mana-mana kumpulan atau individu yang boleh menjejaskan ancaman keselamatan, menjejaskan tenteraman awam dan juga keselamatan negara, aktiviti ini mestilah kita bendung dan supaya segala ideologi mereka ini tidak merebak ke dalam negara kita. Dan di bawah Seksyen 66B juga tidak semestinya kumpulan ini bergerak aktif baru nak kita lepaskan daripada senarai, kerana Yang Berhormat Menteri Dalam Negeri mempunyai kuasa yang khusus untuk mengekalkan kumpulan LTTE ini di bawah senarai identiti yang ditentukan.
Dato Sri Dr. Ismail also noted that other countries such as India, Canada, the United Kingdom and the United States have also maintained LTTE as a terrorist group. Well, coming up, PUNB to introduce rent-to-own scheme for Bumiputra entrepreneurs. Well, the government will lower the ceiling price for 3-ply surgical face masks to 1 ringgit a piece at the retail level and 95 cents for wholesalers. Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs Minister Dato Alexander Nantalingi said the decision was made based on continued assessment of the supply status and face mask price by the ministry. Dato Alexander also said that the ministry is prepared to impose further price reduction on the item in the future.
Penurunan harga maksimum pelitup muka adalah langkah yang bersifat soft landing approach, bagi membolehkan stok-stok yang dibawa masuk terdahulu dengan kos yang terlebih tinggi dengan menggunakan pengangkutan udara dapat dijual juga, bagi mengurangkan kerugian pengimport akibat dari penurunan harga ini.
Dato Alexander said that the current stock of face masks is also sufficient and production has been increased to meet demand, with the price subject to revision under the government's ceiling price mechanism. Well, Malaysia recorded 9 new cases of COVID-19 today, bringing the total number of cases to 9,103. Health Director General Dr. Nur Hisham Abdullah, in a statement today, explained that of the 9 new cases, 5 were imported, while 4 were local transmission cases. Explaining further, Dr. Nur Hisham said the 5 imported cases consisted of 3 Malaysians and 2 non-citizens who were returning from Japan, India, Pakistan, New Zealand and Singapore. Meanwhile, he said all 4 local transmissions involved non-Malaysians. The Health Director General also said that no new cases were recorded for the Sivaganga cluster in Kedah or the Kurau cluster in Perak. He also reported that another 6 COVID-19 patients were discharged from hospital, bringing the total cumulative discharge cases to 8,809. With this, he said Malaysia's recovery rate currently stands at 96.8% out of the total number of COVID-19 cases, adding that the number of active COVID-19 cases in the country now stands at 169 cases. Well, of that, 2 patients are being awarded in the intensive care unit. The health DG also said that the number of fatalities related to COVID-19 remained at 125, with no new death reported today. Well, another 230 individuals were detained by the authorities yesterday for violating the Recovery Movement Control Order, the RMCO regulations. In a statement today, Senior Minister Dato Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob said of that figure, 13 were remanded while 2 were allowed police bail and the remaining 215 were issued compounds. Explaining further, the Senior Minister said among the violations were nightclub and pub activities in crowded places where physical distancing cannot be practiced, premises open beyond set operating hours, violation of standard operating procedures, violation of home quarantine procedures, as well as not wearing face masks. Well, he said the Compliance Operation Task Force, consisting of 12,213 personnel led by the police, conducted 69,896 inspections yesterday on supermarkets, restaurants, hawkers, banks and government offices. On the issue of national border controls under Ops Benteng, Dato Seri Ismail Sabri said a total of 2,931 illegal immigrants, 625 skippers and 167 smugglers were arrested from 1st May to 10th August. He said during that period, the police seized 122 boats or sea vessels and 303 vehicles. Perbadanan Usahawan Nasional Berhad (PUNB) will be introducing a rent-to-own financing scheme for Bumiputra entrepreneurs who intend to purchase PUNB-owned external or new business premises with a minimum value of 500,000 ringgit. Its chairman, Tan Sri Noh Omar, said the scheme is to help increase commercial property ownership among Bumiputra entrepreneurs. Tan Sri Noh also said that the scheme is offered to tenants currently renting the 222 premises belonging to PUNB.
Jelasnya ialah jika usahawan ini berminat untuk membeli bangunan hilang, mereka tak perlu pinjam bank. PUNB akan beli dulu. PUNB akan beli dan sewa kepada mereka dan mereka akan bayar sewa. Dan dalam perjanjian itu nanti kita akan lebih detail.
As for the purchase of external and new premises, Tan Sri Noh said the entrepreneurs could submit an application for PUNB to purchase the asset and then continue paying the rent to PUNB until it becomes theirs. To date, PUNB has used 5 million ringgit out of its total allocation of 25 million ringgit to develop its property segment. The Social Security Organization, SOCSO, has approved 8.99 billion ringgit under the wage subsidy program as of July 31st. 2020, benefiting over 2.6 million workers. And Finance Minister Tengku Dato Seri Zafrul Tengku Abdul Aziz said the wage subsidy scheme continues to help employers and employees affected by COVID-19. Well, in a statement today, Tengku Dato Seri Zafrul said SOCSO has also uploaded the names of employees who have received the wage subsidy. He explained that the action was taken following complaints received from the public that a handful of employers who received the subsidy were still laying off employees or imposing pay cuts without their employees' consent. Well, it said the public can also file any complaint to SOCSO via email at aduansip@perkeso.gov.my or call 1300-228-000 for further action. Meanwhile, updating on the Tekun Business Recovery Scheme, TBRS, the Finance Minister said as of 31st July, a total of 1,810 applications have been approved, amounting to 13.3 million ringgit. From that total, 6.8 million ringgit has been disbursed, benefiting 900 micro, small and medium enterprises. The Election Commission has sent the voters' cards to 23,094 registered voters in the Slim State constituency starting yesterday, ahead of the by-election at the end of the month. Well, in a statement, the EC Secretary, Iqmal Ruddin said that the initiative is part of the efforts to encourage and facilitate voters with the process on 25th August for early voters and 29th August for normal voters. Well, for the Slim by-election, Iqmal Ruddin said the EC has also printed additional information on recommended voting times to facilitate voters to plan time to cast their ballot papers. He said the time recommendation aims to prevent voters from gathering in large numbers and to ensure physical distancing among voters while at the polling station. He explained that this is in line with the control measure implemented to curb the spread of COVID-19 infection under the Prevention and Control of Infectious Diseases Act 1988, known as Act 342. Iqmal Ruddin added that voters who had received their respective cards will no longer have to stop at EC booth to check the information, as all have been disclosed on the card. However, he said that voters still need to bring along their identity cards to enable them to vote and to bring along the voter's card or voter registration information to facilitate the process. Voter who does not receive the voter's card can check the voting information through the EC portal, pengundi.spr.gov.my, or the My SPR SIMAC application, or via SMS at 15888 or call the EC hotline at 03-8892-7018. Well, 5 protesters risk jail time with unprecedented criticism of monarch. That and more coming up in our foreign segment. Well, Lebanon's Prime Minister Hassan Diab announced his government's resignation on Monday amid popular outrage over the deadly Beirut port explosion that has reignited angry street protests. Now, the collapse of his government had looked inevitable after a string of resignations and a cabinet meeting during which several cabinet members made it clear they would also quit. While Diab's announcement came even as security forces in central Beirut clashed again, with protesters demanding an end to an entrenched political system widely seen as inept, corrupt, and dominated by sectarian interests and family dynasties. Well, according to the Health Ministry, at least 160 people were killed in Lebanon's worst peacetime disaster, where 6,000 were wounded and about 20 remained missing after the disaster blamed on official negligence. 6 days after the enormous chemical blast wreaked destruction across swaths of the capital and was felt as far away as the island of Cyprus, residents and volunteers were still clearing the debris of the streets. International rescue teams with sniffer dogs and specialized equipment remained at work at the disaster's charred ground zero, where the search was now for bodies and not survivors. The Lebanese want heads to roll over the tragedy. The outgoing government is now due to stay on in as caretaker capacity, and the next elections could still be months away. Well, Young Five protesters listened in rapt attention on Monday night as pro-democracy activists called for open discussion of the unassailable monarchy's role in the kingdom at a rally in Bangkok that drew thousands. Now, the massive demonstration comes after weeks of near-daily student-led protests denouncing Premier Prayut Chan-o-cha's military-aligned administration, while the student-led movement has repeatedly demanded a rewrite to a 2017 constitution and the parliament's dissolution and call for the government to stop threatening the people. Well, protesters regard former Army Chief Prayut, who led a 2014 coup, as a remnant of Thailand's junta legacy as his premiership was ushered in under a military scripted charter in last year's poll. But activists have waded further into sensitive territory by calling for the abolition of the kingdom's draconian royal defamation law, which protects the powerful super-rich king Maha Vajiralongkorn. Monday's rally outside Bangkok, which started off with anti-government songs, ended with speeches by two activists who were arrested over the weekend and later released on bail. Lawyer Anunumpa and activist Panupong Jatnok were charged with sedition for their alleged role at a massive 18 July rally. Hong Kong has rushed to buy pro-democracy newspaper Apple Daily today in a show of support for its owner, who was arrested a day earlier as police rounded up critics of China. Well, a crackdown on dissent in Hong Kong has gathered pace since China imposed a sweeping security law in June, with opposition politicians disqualified and activists arrested for social media posts. In one of the most dramatic days of the crackdown, media tycoon Jimmy Lai was among 10 people detained under the new law on Monday as around 200 police officers searched the newsroom of his tabloid. In a show of solidarity for Lai people, well, people in the city rushed to buy Tuesday's Apple Daily, with the newspaper saying it had upped its print run to 550,000 from its normal circulation of 70,000. One restaurant owner bought 50 copies at a newsstand in the commercial district of Mongkok, saying he planned to give them away for free. The newspaper's front page showed a picture of Lai being led away in handcuffs with a headline that said, quote unquote, "Apple will fight on." Well, dozens of people lined up in Mongkok and around the city to buy the paper, with some also paying vendors in advance so other people could take a copy for nothing. Lai's arrest also sparked a buying spree in shares of his media group, and its stock value rose by nearly 1,000% today from Monday morning. Man United, Inter Milan through to Europa League semis. But first, the local scene. The Malaysian Hockey Confederation, MHC, would like state governments to contribute financially to the development of the sport at the grassroots level. MHC President Datuk Sri Subhan Kamal said they should invest at least 300,000 ringgit per year in the hockey associations to help one of the best team sports in the country to grow. Datuk Sri Subhan said he is sad that there are rich state governments that are not doing enough to help the sport, but is glad there are states like Terengganu which are spending millions per year on player development and to compete in the Malaysian Hockey League MHL top tier. According to him, the national body needs about 10 million ringgit per year for various programs like organizing leagues and tournaments, national team training and overseas tournaments. He said sometimes state hockey associations are not able to carry out their programs and plans because of the shortage of funds. He also said the incoming technical director will be tasked with appointing state head coaches under the National Hockey Development Program, NHDP, which is a collaboration between MHC, the National Sports Council, Education Ministry and state hockey associations. He stressed that development programs are crucial for producing high-quality players, citing the Satu Mas hockey program for producing players like Muhammad Akhimullah Anwar Isuk, Muhammad Azrai Aizat Abu Kamal and Muhammad Nur Firdaus Rosdi, who are making their mark in the national team. Well, Inter Milan striker Romelu Lukaku scored the winner in a 2-1 victory over Bayer Leverkusen as he tormented the Germans to lead his side into the Europa League semi-finals early this morning. Now, the win sets up a semi-final against Ukrainian side Shakhtar Donetsk or FC Basel of Switzerland, who meet tomorrow morning. Now, the mini-tournament is played across Germany on a one-off knockout basis. In Cologne, Manchester United were forced to dig deep to reach the Europa League semi-finals as Portuguese midfielder Bruno Fernandes converted a 95th minute penalty to secure a 1-0 win over a stubborn FC Copenhagen side after extra time.
4 offside, while Copenhagen's Jonsson produced a string of superb saves to force extra time. Fernandes settled stops to keep out shots by Marshall and Mata, racking up a total of 13 saves, the most by a keeper in a single Europa League game since 2009.
And with just 2 former winners left in the competition, no Cristiano Ronaldo and no fans, the Champions League moves to Lisbon this week for the start of the final 8 with the intriguing prospect that a new format could lead to a new name on the trophy. Paris Saint-Germain players, including superstar Neymar, train for the second time in Portugal days ahead of the Champions League quarterfinal against Atalanta.
The final will be played at Benfica's Estadio da Luz on 23rd August. The final 8 will start at the same ground on Thursday when Atalanta face PSG. Whoever wins that will meet Leipzig or Atletico for a place in the final, while City or Lyon will meet Bayern or Barcelona in the other semi-final. Barcelona and Bayern Munich, with 5 European Cups each, are in contention for the title, but only one will reach the semi-finals. They meet each other in the quarterfinals at the Estadio da Luz on Saturday. But maybe this time the glory will go to someone altogether, with Manchester City and Paris Saint-Germain both having reason to believe this will be the year they are rewarded for a decade of decadence fueled by the immense wealth of their owners in the Gulf.
And that concludes this evening's news at 10. In our top story, 3 Shah Alam City Council officers arrested after uproar over Sungai Buloh protection racket. Join us again at 12:30 tomorrow afternoon. I'm Muhammad Amin Carlos. Stay tuned to Saluran Berita RTM and have a pleasant evening.